Hello and welcome to this tutorial where we will start to set up our project environment. So first we will start from the backend and then for the front end. And I use a different IDE, different development environment tools for coding on the backend and for the front end. I use a PyCharm IDE, which is also free for students and academicals, researchers. And it's just purely Python based development environment. And we have a WebStorm, using a WebStorm for the web development websites. You can use your own development environment. So in the backend, we will first create the Flask application, and then we will set up virtual environment where we will install needed libraries such as pandas and NumPy to work with the data sets to load the CSV files. In the front end, we will use the Angular app and install also user interface components provided from Angular material for the user interface. And also visualization libraries, Python-based Plotly and JavaScript-based Apache eCharts. And we will set up the router for navigation in our website and create a service for communicating with the backend. So let's start first to create a folder. I already have created. Okay, let's move it, delete it first. We create a new folder, demo. Inside of this folder, we create one more folder for the backend because you'll have two different applications, backend and frontend. Then you open the PyCharm, create a new project. We want to have a Flask. And we will select a path. We want to have this path to the backend. Okay, and click create. It will generate us a standard structure of the Flask backend. It's a very simple one. It has a folder static where the old JavaScript files and HTML files will be there, but we will not do this because our JavaScript and HTML files will be served from the Angular framework instead. We will use only backend as an API to get and process the data. Then we have the virtual environment, which will have our libraries installed. And then we have the main file app Python, which creates this Python server. So it imports the Flask framework here, creates the app, and it started it here. And this is a router. So when we open in the browser this localhost 5000 port, it's standard port, it should show us this message, hello world. So to start the Flask application, there is a command flask run, and when it's run, it shows that it started on this. Okay, and we can go navigate in the browser to this, and we'll have hello world, so it works. So the next step is to install needed libraries. So to stop it, I put it Ctrl+C and I stopped it. So since I'm already activated, I'm already inside of the virtual environment, so I can start to install the libraries which we use. If you're not inside of this virtual environment, you need to first activate it and then install the libraries. So the first library will be NumPy library. So we can go to navigate to the NumPy library. And this library, it's very powerful Python library for working with the data, different data types also. So first we need to install it, and we usually say pip install NumPy just to get, yeah. Here is a Python repository of all libraries. So we can just copy this command, go back here and install it. It's installed. Then we will use also pandas. So pandas is also very used library in Python, mostly for data science projects as here. So it allows us to load the data in different formats, CSV, JSON, and also calculate some simple descriptive statistics like mean, standard deviation, and also like combining different data sources together. So we will need to also use the command pip install pandas. Yes. Okay, then since we will use our data sets, I have them like this in CSV format. I will copy them, and to access them on the backend, I will put them in a static folder. Okay. And now the next step in our agenda, we already installed the libraries, is to load the data set. So we will load it once, and then we will just query and do a different manipulation with the data. For this, we will create one more folder, which should be called controllers, but in my example, I already give this name. So I will stick to my example, which you will download from the Docker and can run it. So in the patient, I will create also a Python file. This will be patient. And in this file, we will load the data set. First, we will import the two libraries that we have used, pandas library. So this is how do we imported it. And we will also need to use later on the NumPy library as well. So first we will write a function or method which will load the which loads the different data for us. So we have like patient, load the patient data. Okay. So it will return a data frame. I create a variable called df, because data frame is like a table. You can think about of data structure as a table, but it's an object in pandas. So we have this panda from library. We tell it read CSV file, and we give it a path, and the path will be static, and then patient data. So the name should be correct, right? And the path should be correct. CSV. When we parse data from a text file like CSV, not all columns of the data types will be converted automatically. Like dates, they will not be converted to the panda date time. So for this, we need to make sure that this column is not just a string, but it's a date type. So for this, we have to parse this column with the name date. This is how we access the columns in our, it's like a table. If we go to the patient data, so we have here a date column. And then we have to specify which column do we want to parse as a date, and we specify this one, and we reassign it so it will be replaced. Okay, instead of creating a new column, we just replace the value of a string to the date and time object, okay? And we return this data frame. We also have patient events data that we also want to load. So we put like load patient patient events data. So in here I will just copy the same because it's the same code, just different file name, patient events. Yes, events. Okay, good. Now we can use these two methods in our app to load the data. So you can go to the app and somewhere here in front we could also loaded them here. Just a second, just to look on one thing quickly. Okay, so okay, so here we have we will load the patient data. We will create a variable. This is a global variable, and it will be loaded only once when we start our web application. Okay. So here patient data. Then we have to import from patient, import patient. Yeah. So this is how we import our Python file. So, and then here we can use it patient data, and then we have also events data, patient, load patient events data. And we will also have as well, we should load the map data set. And for the map dataset, I have created also a different folder, but it could be also same and different structure, of course. Okay, and then here I have created a new Python, which is map, called map. Okay, and here I also need to import the pandas and write the same method that we had it here. Yeah, we could also use like a path to the file and have the same method instead of repeating several times, but I just wanted to have it anyway separate as much as possible. Yes, and this function just loads the data set, and this function will prepare the data sets to the visualization for the map. We will take it later, okay, in the next video tutorial. Now we just concentrate on loading the data. And we have here map. We have map data, map, load map. Okay, that's all for the backend for the moment. In this tutorial, we will start now to do the front end. We already did the load of the data sets. Okay, so now we have to create the Angular app application. So I open the WebStorm. I select a new project. It will be Angular, and I want to select the yes, demo, and then here will be a new folder, front end. Yeah, in in this front end, I then need to specify which node I want to use. I will use this node version, yeah, and then Angular Clear 19 version. Okay, click create. It will generate me a standard skeleton or template of the Angular project. Take some time to generate it. Okay, I think it's finished now, and we can see on the structure of the Angular. So the Angular structure is like this. So it has a node modules folder, which has all installed libraries inside. It has a public folder for images, for example, any image that is used in the front end. Then we have the main folder, which is all the code, and the coding comes in this source CRC file folder. Then we have a different configurations here. So this one of them is showing which libraries do we use here, which dependencies. They are installed by default. We can see that we use Angular version 19. Yes, and then in this file it also shows how you build the application. For example, if you want to have it in the Docker or not in the Docker, then you have to make a different configurations here. In a source file, it generates, it's a global style CSS file. It's when you want to write some styles that should be applicable all over the project, then you should use this one. But otherwise, every component, it's component-based framework, so it creates different components. And for example, this is a main component called app, and every component has its own CSS file, its own HTML file, and its own TypeScript file. So it's already have a model view controller architecture. We can say instead of JavaScript, it uses TypeScript language. Yes, okay, and then this is the index file. This is the main file. We can see here is this keyword uproot. So when we are done with the application, it will generate for us all necessarily files, which we can just move to our server for deployment. So we can start to test it. So this is the application, and this is what will be as a default main page when we run this application. So first I need to activate a correct versions of the node. You need to have installed Node.js as well. To use this one. To start the Angular application, we have this command ng-serve. Okay. So it said that it started, and we can navigate to the browser. Yeah, we can have to localhost, and it will show us this default web page. That it works. So whenever we make a change, the page will be updated. So in our the main component, we will not have this anymore. So, and we will also have this routers defined and navigation. Okay. Before we go to this one, sorry, we have to still install the libraries. Okay. So we need to install Angular Material, Plotly, and Apache eChart. So what is Angular Material? So first let's go and look what is Angular Material. So Angular material gives us already ready user interface components, which makes us our life easier and faster to build a simple web applications. So if you go to the components, as you can see, it has a lot of different range of different used components, mostly used, and there is very nice documentation. You can go to API, you can go to the styling, you can go to the examples, different examples. You can also look how the code behind this, and so on. So we will install it. So to install it, we first need to run this command, okay? So we have to add it to our project. So if we go to our project, we have to stop it now. Also Ctrl+C, same for the Flask. So we do the command adding the Angular material. Yes. And it will ask you which theme would you like to use. I use the default one. Yes, some default questions. So now we can also see that our package.json is updated. We have here now Angular materials installed. The next one is Plotly. So Plotly is a very powerful Python-based visualization library, and it's not only just Python-based, it is also JavaScript and supports many different languages. So multi-languageal libraries. So Plotly, just want to go to the demo and the documentation, which we take that one maybe. Okay, but it says dash Plotly. No. Okay, so here you can select, as you see, okay, different languages here, but there should be also Plotly for JavaScript as well. And here is some quick guide and installations. Depends which language do you use. For Plotly, for Python, you will install the Dash. We are not interested in this one. We're interested in Plotly for Angular. So Plotly for Angular, we will use this command then. Okay. So there should be somewhere instruction how to, yes, okay. So I think you need to run this command. Just want to double check 7 months ago. Yes, install. Okay. Just want to make sure that we install in the correct library. So if you go to our project one more time. Okay. Yes, and we go here and we go on the main. Okay, we will try to use this. There should be this also this app model file. I just don't see it right now here. Why do I don't see it? It's a component. It's maybe here. Application configuration. Provide the routers. Optical rules. Main TS. I will just double check here quickly the plotly 60. I got just plotly 60. Okay. Let's have a look which version it was installed. It was okay, yeah, very good. It was plotly 600. Okay, good. The next library which will be used is Apache eCharts, which is also very nice and very powerful visualization library. It has a lot of examples, a lot of demos. I'm going to go to demos and the already ready ones and give you a playground even to create your own graph, and then you can download the code. And it supports JavaScript and TypeScript languages, which is very nice. So here we can have a different list of different also custom visualizations and examples. And then, as you said, you can click, there is a playground, you select a language, by default it's JavaScript, and you can also go to the TypeScript. It's very similar to JavaScript, but still have a differences in the syntax. And it generates, and you can modify it here and run it, and then you can also even download as a ready visualization, or you can just copy and paste the code to your environment. So we will need first also to install it. So we just put Angular install Apache eCharts. So this is how they are called. Yes, NGX eCharts. So we use our Angular 19 installations. If you since version 5. Okay, so I think we will now install it as like this. Okay, go to here, install it. And it's also updated, and we have also the same version as we have in Angular, which is very good. So after installing the libraries, we have to make sure that it's still everything works correct. Just double check, make sure. Yes, and it's still working. Okay, and now we will will start to modify it. We will not have on our main page, we will not have this. So instead of this, we will have the router there for navigation. So here we will need to write the router outlet tag, and it will be responsible for all navigations in our web page. So this is very important to have it on the index on the HTML of the main component. And here we will provide the different paths for the different routes. First, we will create some. Okay, here we have some errors. Router outlet is not a known element. Yes, so I think it's because here we have imported it inside, and it's included in the imports, right? Yeah, it is a warning. But we can still continue, and let's see. This is an error. That is not recognizing the router outlet. Okay, I make a mistake and misspelled it. Okay, router outlet. Sorry. Outlet. Okay, so I misspelled it. Now it's fine. So we would need to generate first the main component. I will do ng generate component, call it main, and this component will have this one will show us the main page of our web page, and for doing this we will need to make it explicit. So if we in our router, so we have to add here a new route where we put a path, will be anything, and the component which will be shown to the web page is the main component. So in the main component we have this main works, so we can test it now. And it shows main works. So it loads the main component. The URL is the same, not changed, but it shows us the content of the main component HTML. Okay, and in this main component we would have a tabs. Yeah, we have a tabs, and we will use, if you go to Angular material, we still have open Angular material. So in Angular material, we want to use the tabs. So you go to the components, and here we have tabs. So we will use these two tabs. We have for the So I will make it faster now. Because, yeah, okay. So I'm inside the main component HTML. I'm creating a tab group, and we will have two tabs: the map and descriptive statistic. So we haven't created these two components yet, so I will remove them. Now we will do them in the next video tutorial. So for the moment we just create a main page with have some, yes, we have some error, of course. Yes. It says the math tab is unknown element, so we have to go to our main component here and import the module of this component. And the module is usually math tab module. So we have math tab module. So, okay. It still doesn't recognize the math tab module. Let me see if we correctly imported it. Map, not tables, math tabs module. Okay, so now it is correct, and now we should see two empty tabs, card and map and descriptive statistics, which will work on our next video tutorial. What was more in our agenda for this one? So we set it up the router navigation. Okay, we have to set up the service for communicating with the backend. So for doing this, I will stop the Angular application. I will use the command to generate a service, ng generate service, and I want to have it in a folder, dedicated folder, which is services, and the service called will be data service. Okay, data, and it will create us data service in a services. This is not a component, this is a service, special object in Angular, which means which can make this post and get requests and different calls to the backend or different APIs. So again, so for the moment it is empty service, and we will add here the URL to our backend to communicate. So okay, created a data service, but in my example I have a map service, patient service and setting service. Okay, it's fine, it should be map service. We can rename it, refactor, rename. I want to have a map. Yes, do refactor. Okay, this one should also rename map service refactor. Okay. We will work with this service in the next video tutorial more detailed, but we can create a global variable which is called server URL, and it will be our Flask standard URL, which is around 500. Okay, that's all for this video tutorial. In the next video tutorial we will work with creating interactive map and establishing communication between backend and frontend.